How are you, lads? I don't even know. Am I going to put this up on YouTube? But I had half an hour spare today, and I'm walking around Muckross farm in Killarney. I was here a few times before. It's absolutely fantastic spot. It is just savage. Foley's farmhouse project, roofed and retouched farmhouse, floor system. This is a brilliant place. Now, I'm not going to show you all of it. There's a school. There's obviously a farmhouse. There's a bakery. There's a couple of more things around here. They're retouching this house at the moment, so we might sneak a bit on the far side of them. Riveted gates here, just there in front of me. But look, it's a fantastic place. But I suppose if you want to see it, to be honest, there's a big vintage here towards the end of August, I think. Not exactly too sure of the dates, but it's the Killarney Valley. Look them up on Facebook, the Killarney Valley Vintage Club. And they're holding their vintage rally here in Muckross Park, in the farm. I think it's towards the end of August. I'm not too sure of the dates. Look it up. You'll see it. They're a big organisation based here in Killarney. And as I've preached to some of you before, definitely I think all these vintages and all that should definitely be well supported. There's a horse box down there and there's another crowd coming behind my back, so I'm going to go away before they think I'm gone lunatic talking to my phone. Yeah, sure, look, give a look at it, and I'm just meet a fella here, and we'll do a bit of filming if there's stuff. I think there is, so come to see it in August. It's well worth it. I think today, actually, you want to me coming in, they're open 60 years today. It's the 14th of June. Yeah, 14th. Is it the 14th of June today? So they're open 60 years today. So happy birthday, Muckross. Just to give you an idea, this is some of the buildings. You know, when I see this building here now, where my grandfather, where my mother came out of in Castle Gregory, this reminds me of the sheds that they had. They had sheds that were very low sheds. I remember going to one of them. My grandfather had, we'll say, spuds inside one of them. There was the horse, there was the stuff for the hens. That's all there. And we'll give one look around the back of the shed if we can. But down the field here, I see it thrown behind the shed. There's another building there. I don't know what that is. Look at the hens here. There's an old mowing bar. I'd say that's a one-horse mowing bar because it's very, very small. And then we have an old hay turner. Would have been horse pulled, and of course are, without doubt, well over 100 years old each. Alright guys, something small, the Kerry cow. I know I've told you time and time again about whatever. Murphy's Ice Cream in Dingle and Killarney. As far as I know, they buy all the milk off of the National Park here in Killarney, and that's the milk, the Kerry cow. It's actually just a small breed of cow, and the biggest herd of Kerry cows in Ireland is here in Muckross Park in Killarney. Oh yeah, and by the way, I was talking to the fellow doing the thatching, that the reeds for the thatching of that roof are actually coming in from Turkey. There's only about 4 people left in Ireland that are harvesting reeds for thatching. So if there's reeds near you, start harvesting. There might be a few pound in it. Alright guys, here we are. That's still some of the stuff, some of the machinery that's on display here. With a Pierce of Wexford pulper. What this would have been used for was pulping up mostly ground root fodder, root beets. You put into that in there, whether you put in spuds or whether you put in sugar beet or sugar or fodder beet or whatever, and you twist this handle. There'll be a handle here, go around, there's blades inside, and it will come out the bottom. But this is kind of every farm, a lot of farms would definitely have had this on them. And every farm would have had at least one. Now when you got to be the bigger farmers, all right, there was a bit, we call it a more industrial version of it. Again, this is what I call a furze cutter. It was for chopping furze and chopping whatever for feeding horses. Fed in through the back here, you turn the handle, actually you can see the blade in that one there. And again, came in various different sizes for different operations and different farms. Never saw one before, but a horse pulled roller. You see the above for 2 horses, one on either side. An old Avery weighing scales. A seeder. It's amazing, like this seeder is Star Force Feeder corn drill. Like this seeder, like the technology is still the same. It's still the same. Okay, there's air involved now. There's probably little brushes in this turned on a cog. But like the technology is still the exact same as what's down there as what's in the big new 40, 50, 60 foot wide John Deere seeders of today. Again, same kind of principle, a double seeder. You would put your grain or whatever into the hopper. There's a thing inside you could turn for the different sizes of the seeds. Whether you were setting, we'll say carrots or fodder beet or sugar beet or whatever. And little brush turns and the brush drops the seed down that pipe out there. And yeah, the rest is history. A mowing bar, this is a slightly bigger version to the one we had below. This is a double horse mowing bar. You can see it's a good bit bigger. We have a single seeder, same principle, seed down, out, ground, roller, comes the same system, except this is a double. That's a single. We have a couple of harrows, common harrows. A reversible plough. This is the only other place I've seen one, a reversible horse-drawn plough. Most places that had horse-drawn ploughs, that you go up one side and go down the other side, but this is a reversible plough. Hay turner inside. This was for, I think this was kind of to me it looks like for going over 2 drills pulled by a horse. The normal plough, a hay rake. What this would have been used for was when you cut your hay with the mowing bar, you turn it with this. If you had this, most times it was cut with a side. Only the very wealthy farmers had this. So I suppose in the finish a lot of farmers had it, but the wealthier farmer had this. And when you cut it with the mowing bar, you turned it with this, you would have raked it together with this. It goes down behind, you drag it along into heaps in the field. We'll say you drag it to the centre, or you drag it all up one side. And then it was put into what they call a cock of hay, which was a kind of, a bit like a teepee or a dome. And you would load it eventually onto this. It's called a hay car. And these are like 2 winches. You put a rope around it. The rope was made out of hay again. And you put the rope around it and it was pulled up into the hay car by that. Again, not everyone had one of these. These were, again, would have been on the estate farms or the bigger farms. It's a horse sprayer. Wouldn't have been too many of them around, even though I have seen a few of them, but it would have been, not everybody would have had one. This thing here, I have one of these working in the video. They were basically for driving whatever you want. They drove a pulley. There would have been a shaft out of this side of it. See the shaft here? The shaft would have went out there for whatever, 20 feet. This would have been 20 foot out there, and a pair of horses would have pulled it round in a circle, driving that gear, turning the shaft, turning a pulley outside, driving a belt, driving whatever implement you wanted it to drive. Again, another mowing bar. Again, another, what I would call a furze cutter, or some people call them a chaff cutter. Royal Scotland's first prize mill, Oxford. This thing is a reaper and binder. Reaper and binder was used for binding corn. I have a good bit of that done in different videos. Again, a pulper. I don't know what that is, but this is what we would call a spud digger. Pulled along by a pair of horses again. These turn, and these would scoop the spuds out of the ground. That would be actually be under the spuds to loosen the earth, and they would throw the spuds out to one side. Now I heard a fella told me one time, he said that they would actually sort the spuds as well, because the small spud, it would throw it away out, and the big spud, it would only just clear the path. So yeah. I was just looking at this thing here. This is actually like a topper. See the blade turning underneath, but it looks to be very much like a forge made. It's not a factory made. I'd say some fella in a forge made it, I would imagine, at some stage. Don't know. And again, a 1-horse mowing bar. You can see the place for 1 horse. And mowing bar, a horse's car, a donkey's car. See the difference in the sizes? 2 donkeys' cars and 2 horse cars below. Alright, let's see what else is here for us to look at. Alright guys, just before we jump on to the next thing, this is the reaper and binder. I have a good few videos, or a couple of videos of one of these working. If you go in the history of the reaper and binder, you'll find a video. It would have been pulled by a horse originally, but the one I have has been pulled by a tractor. This is the cutting bar. This is the cutting bar. This is basically an invention by Cyrus Halls McCormick. He's credited as being the inventor of modern agriculture. But he invented this. And it was another fella, I can't think of his name. He was actually a jeweler. He invented the knotter. And they came up with this thing basically. So if you go from the earlier cedar we had below, this was again, a later invention. It's probably over 100 years old, but probably for 5,000 years they were cutting it with a scythe or something along those lines. So yeah, just keep that in mind for 1 second, and we're going to go over here and look at the thresher. Alright, just before we get to the thresher, there's a small demonstration here of what a thatched roof would look like. As far as I know, these are earth here. It's scraws of grass, but I think what they're actually called is scallops. I could be wrong, or they call the scallops. I actually can't remember. But these are the thatch, these are the reeds. Now these are modern day reeds. There's a lifespan of probably 30 or 40 years in them. I think the old thatch years and years ago, there was something like a lifespan of maybe 10 or 15 years in them, depending on where they were got. But this is only straw and grass. And these are the reeds, and this is the way the thatching would have been done for hundreds and hundreds of years in Ireland. Now, here's your thresher. The straw and the oats and everything, the straw with the grain on it would be fed in the top above, down through it, back through all the shakers. The straw would come out here above and top, and the chaff would come out here underneath. Like, what an absolute invention this Gervy. What an absolute invention this must have been. Like, you can imagine going back 150 years ago and you saw this coming into your yard and a steam engine. Like, you have to remember, like, up until 100 years ago, most people in Ireland only had bicycles. I know a story of a fella that he had a tractor, but he didn't want to drive the tractor. There was and he cycled from Killarney out to Ardfert. Like, so, yeah. And a couple of horse-drawn cars. These are all here for everyone to see in Killarney, inside in the Muckross park. Come on, we'll walk on and see what else is here. Alright guys, that's kind of about it. Now there's an awful lot more here in the park, but there was school tours, there's people, and I didn't want to be videoing people in the camera and they thinking I'm gone a bit, queer in the head. But look, one of these, this is our final thing. And over here actually there's a lovely schoolhouse with 2 classrooms. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that in Ireland, up until probably very recently, in the last 50 or 60 years, most schools would have been 2 classroom schools. But one classroom would have been for the boys, the other classroom would have been for the girls. And they would have even had 2 separate entrances, which is in this school. So we're going to turn the camera and we're going to give one quick look at the lime kiln. And this place is brilliant. It is brilliant family day out. The lads are there. So, yeah. Give a like, give a subscribe, and maybe come here in August to see the Killarney Valley and Vintage Club. I think that's what they're called. They're on Facebook. Look them up, and maybe come here in August to see their big vintage day. And what else is on? Charleville, the 30th, and Kilflyn, the 16th, which is probably gone. Okay, guys. All right. Let's turn the camera and give a look at this thing. This would have been a lime kiln. They would have brought the limestone. And they would have, inside, above and top, in there, they would have put in layers of lime, layers of timber, layers of peat, and the whole lot. And it would have had to be burning for nearly, I think they said, for up to 3 days to get the heat right, to actually crack the limestone and get it down to dust. And out there in the very bottom, they would have shoveled the limestone out of there, and most major estates would have had them. I know, I don't know whether this is a newly built one or an old built one. It looks to be kind of new enough with the mortar. I'd say built for demonstration purposes. But like, all estates would have them. I know where there's one or two along the Killarney Tralee Road, and they would have been used. They would actually more or less have been hired out. You could come there with your timber, your turf, but somebody had to look after it. Somebody had to keep loading it, loading timber and loading everything into it for up to 3 days to get it up to the right temperature. Like I said, you put in layers of turf, peat, layers of timber, layers of limestone. And I suppose you probably crushed the limestone. You didn't put in big lumps. You probably broke it up, because limestone is actually a soft enough rock. And for those of you that don't know, they put the reason for spreading lime in the field is because when they spread the farmyard manure, it brings up the pH of the soil too high. And when they spread farmyard manure, it brings up the pH, so they spread lime. Lime kind of neutralises the whole thing. Alright guys, that's kind of it. The camera's shaking. I don't have my GoPro, it's on my phone, so that's fine. Give a like, give a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Call here, it's well worth it. Muckross Park, it's Killarney National Park. I think one time it was actually belonged to the Guinness family, and I think before that it belonged to the, I forget, but they built this park, the whole park. It was English landlords eventually at one stage, and the Herbert family, and they built several parks in Killarney. Queen Victoria came to Killarney. Queen Victoria went home. Queen Victoria's husband passed away, and when the husband passed away, she went into mourning. So the Herbert family then eventually went into debt, and I think they eventually died more or less broke. But apparently they were very good landlords. There's a big monument to them just outside the park, and yeah, that's kind of it. That's a quick brief history of Killarney. And apparently inside the middle of the park there's more or less like a commonage, but no one knows what it is and no one can get at it. It's a bit of a mystery. That's it. I can't think of no more. There's loads of history. This place is brilliant. Muckross house is 365 windows. That's it. Alright guys, cheers. Give a like, give a subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.